Form 1, or Shicho, is the operating system of lightsaber combat with clean-cut paths, safeguards, and footwork that keeps the blade between you and danger. Training starts with different target zones, the head, arms, legs, and torso, so that attacks and blocks follow predictable routes, and with sweeping arcs that carry momentum and naturally flow into the next movement. Because those arcs cover a lot of space, Shicho excels against multiple opponents and mixed threats, whether it be a brawl, blaster, or blade, without demanding high precision. Its signature is the disarm. A diagonal beat strips a weapon, followed by a controlled shove to end the exchange without a kill. In real fights, that lets a Jedi clear a perimeter fast instead of dueling every target. Against blasters, Shicho teaches early meets and safe deflections, send bolts up, down, or into dead space, without the energy-heavy timing of advanced return fire styles. Jedi who exemplify Form 1 include Kit Fisto, who shows textbook Shicho with broad covers, and quick disarms whether underwater or on deck. Younglings live in Shicho, and even veterans fall back on it for crowd protection and corridor work. Young Luke Skywalker leans on Shicho basics, which practices a centerline guard with big recoveries and no-frills cuts that favor certainty over style. Form 2, or Makashi, is built to win one fight cleanly. Its core is economy of motion that includes narrow thrusts, short parries, and thin wrist angles that save energy and steal inches. The stance is bladed with one shoulder forward and often one-handed, with linear footwork. Small ins and outs that keep the point threatening at all times. Makashi wins by timing, distance, and blade control, not by force. 3 skills define it. The bind slides along the opponent's blade to the guard, taking leverage while keeping your tip on target. The riposte follows a minimal parry with an immediate, accurate thrust before the opponent resets. Feints invite a predictable attack, then punish the committed line. Because motions are small, a Makashi user sees more and recovers faster, turning tiny gaps into finishes. Makashi shines in pure duels since it is precise, patient, and efficient. It struggles against crowds or heavy crossfire where there isn't enough coverage and against brute force styles like Djem So, where distance errors get punished hard. Makashi patterns are unmistakable. Count Dooku is one of the greatest practitioners with his curved lightsaber hilt for wrist leverage, soft parries, and surgical counters. Asajj Ventress used Makashi with twin blades, stacking feints into pressure. Post-Order 66, several Inquisitors show Makashi influence probing whenever they stop spinning rings and fence straight. If the mission is a duel, Makashi is the cleanest form with the fewest moves, least fatigue, and maximum say over where the next beat happens. Form 3, or Soresu, is the art of defense. The stance of this art is compact with elbows in, blade close, and with footwork that draws small circles, so the guard is always ready to meet the next threat. Soresu builds a defensive shell. Short, early parries that shed energy away from the body, and constant micro-corrections that keep the center covered. Against blasters, Soresu looks like smooth traffic control. Bolts are met early and routed to safely back up, down, or into plating. When time allows, returns are placed, not lucky. A subtle roll drops a bolt into a turret seam or a shooter's weapon. Against sabers, Soresu robs momentum, meeting each cut with the minimum movement, then recentering so the attacker must rebuild speed. Over time, the attacker spends more energy and makes the first mistake. The most iconic user of Soresu is Jedi Master Obi-Wan Kenobi. We see him use minimal motion under massed fire on Geonosis, patient counters on Utapau, and defending every strike from Anakin on Mustafar. Luminara Unduli shows the same economy in temple and urban defense, while Kanan Jarrus later centers on Soresu to move teams through danger. Even Ahsoka uses Soresu principles into dual blade work when survival and control outrank aggression. This makes Soresu the baseline for staying power and the platform many Jedi return to before switching into a decisive counter. Form 4 is Ataru, which turns constant motion into a fence. It chains spins, vaults, and rapid stance switches, so attacks arrive from new angles with every beat. Where Makashi trims and Soresu contains, Ataru amplifies with fast entries that trade position for pressure, then an immediate rebound before the defender recovers. This blade work favors flowing combinations keyed to footwork that never settles. There are 2 mechanics that drive it. Force gating spends microbursts for longer jumps, mid-air acceleration, and sticky landings into tight guards. Angle stacking routes attack through ceiling, floor, and flank in quick sequence. Vault over for a back cut, rebound across the center line, then slide under the return. Against blasters, that mobility creates a rolling approach. Step, bat, so shooters can't bracket the lane. Yoda is one of the best practitioners of Ataru. explosive lifts and high-angle re-entries that pry open disciplined guards. Qui-Gon Jinn also runs a grounded variant of Ataru using forward pressure and heavy inside cuts. Ahsoka Tano blends Ataru with dual blades, short vaults and lateral slides into reverse grip back cuts to hit and exit before a counter lands. Early Kanan starts Ataru, later integrating Soresu and learning to take initiative, then learning to keep it. Ataru is how a Jedi steals the battlefield. They change where the fight happens faster than the opponent can stabilize. Form 5 turns defense into offense through Djem and Djem So. Djem faces blasters with angled guards and scooping parries that don't just deflect bolts, they steer them into threats while advancing. Djem So faces sabers to meet power with a firm post through hips and shoulders, then returns a short, violent cut into the opening just made. Mechanically, Djem keeps the blade off-center with a slight rear weight. Shallow wrist rolls catch bolts early and flick them into chosen lanes while the feet close distance. Djem So shifts weight forward with a high square guard. The counter travels the shortest path to wrists, shoulders, or exposed quadrant. Both rely on structure, so bones, not biceps, carry load. Strengths include momentum theft and tempo control. Djem walks straight through crossfire other forms would respect, turning hostile fire into friendly effects. Djem So punishing overreach. Every heavy swing you throw becomes the start of my finish. These forms are limited by a disciplined Makashi duelist who won't overextend and can make Djem So hit air and pick at wrists between power shots. Multi-blaster angles can saturate faster than Djem can steer. Both assume you can plant on unstable footing and risk balance. Practitioners of this form, such as Anakin Skywalker, are the Djem So archetype. High guard, crushing counters like dictating space on Mustafar and Bespin. Luke evolves a Djem-led hybrid, measured by forward deflections on sail barges and in forests, then Djem So weighs up close. Ahsoka uses reverse grip Djem to scoop bolts and set fast back cuts, toggling to compact Djem So bursts in saber fights. Kanan shepherds allies with Djem, then ends duels with one Djem So hammer. Form V is the bridge between survival and control. Users don't just last, they shape the exchange and end it on your terms. Form 6 is Nieman and is the mission form, a blend of Shicho's coverage, Soresu's safety, and Makashi's timing that stays stable through long operations. It emphasizes position and posture, relaxed stance, blade centered, and force integration as standard. Tiny shoves, pulls, and stuns stitched into ordinary strikes so average cuts land like good ones without burning stamina. The guiding rule is to fight clean, conserve energy, and keep the exit. It is also the base for Jarkai or dual saber work. Nieman's calm structure prevents the common dual-wield failure with arms outrunning feet. The offhand handles short guards, traps, and checks while the main blade carries longer lines, creating steady pressure that's hard to rush or flank. Strengths include versatility and composure. In escorts, extractions, and mixed crowds, Nieman keeps a Jedi Knight unflustered, redirecting bolts, diffusing single threats, and protecting civilians without committing to risky angles. Weaknesses appear in specialist duels. A pure Makashi technician can outtime Nieman's middle speed entries. A heavy Djem So user can force the guard unless the Nieman fighter preempts with force checks. Under sustained fire, Nieman lacks Soresu's extreme coverage unless it leans hard defensive and gives up initiative. Users of this form include Jedi Temple guards who show a Nieman-like baseline with measured patterns, force-assisted resets with pikes or paired hilts. Asajj Ventress, though Makashi-leaning, demonstrates solid Jarkai fundamentals when she shifts from feints to steady dual-blade pressure. In Legends, Exar Kun scales an aggressive Nieman chassis to a double-bladed saber. Even field-minded Kanan slips into a Nieman groove. Guard first, small force nudge, safe exit, when the goal is moving a team, not winning a duel. Nieman is the reliable middle, not flashy, often decisive, and the easiest to deploy across a whole campaign. Form 7 is the apex of offense. Juyo is the root of it all, consisting of short, violent entries, abrupt angle shifts, and pressure that never lets the opponent reset. Where Ataru flows and Djem So posts, Juyo shatters an opponent's rhythm, causing stutter steps, whip-quick rebounds from quadrant to quadrant, and binds that rip instead of disengaging. The blade path is purposely unpredictable, high to low, inside to outside, with micro-feints that open the guard a fraction before the real strike lands. Vapad is Mace Windu's refinement who adds a disciplined mental loop that channels an opponent's dark fury without adopting it. It keeps Huyo's geometry but imposes a strict cadence. Users meet the surge at its crest with pre-planned counters, then dump the charge into a safe exit. That's why Vapad looks both wild and precise, since each flurry is a rehearsed trap sprung at the peak of aggression. Strengths are decisive with Form 7 as it seizes and holds the initiative. It scrambles Makashi timing, denies Djem So's posts, and carves lanes through blaster fire before they settle. Limits are equally sharp as 7 taxes mind and body. Sloppy control overextends and opens you up. In long sieges or crowded rooms, the metabolic cost is steep. Ethically, Vapad sits on a knife edge. Fail the loop, and you amplify the darkness you meant to rout. Practitioners like Mace Windu use a tight stance with explosive step-ins and counters that bloom exactly as the foe commits, such as during his duel with Darth Sidious. Darth Maul is classic Juyo and uses staccato footwork, whiplash combinations, double-bladed angles that multiply shock. Sora Bulk shows why Council's restricted 7 with immense talent, destabilized by the form's mental load. Many otherwise conservative duelists use a brief 7 burst as a finisher. Create the window with Soresu or Form 5, then end it with Yo-Yo speed. This makes Form 7 the tip of the spear, only for fighters who trust their breaks, their read, and their ethics, as it fights fast and punishes lapses faster. These lightsaber forms are a toolbox, not a staircase. Jedi mix them to match the ground truth. Soresu to live through crossfire, Xian to walk forward through it, Makashi to end a duel, Ataru to take back space, Djem So to punish overreach, Nieman to keep missions stable, and Juyo/Vapad only when control, technical, and moral is absolute. If this breakdown sharpened how you watch lightsaber battles, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next deep dive. In the comments, tell me which form you'd train first and why, and name a duel you want unpacked move by move. Make sure to video and share it with a friend. Thanks for watching.